So here it is, the engine of the 1979 Porsche 924. But look at this thing, man. The 924 that I worked on was a turbo model, and quite honestly, the engine isn't that much different. It's mainly the intake tract that's different. Ooh, there's a spider right there. The intake tract to this is vastly different. So for being a mechanically fuel-injected vehicle, it's pretty simple, right? You've got your air intake, goes into your air box, which is hooked onto the CIS fuel distributor, pumps the fuel lines directly into the mechanical fuel injectors, and then the air continues on through the throttle plate, I think is what it's called, and then it goes downstream into the actual throttle body, and then down into a very well balanced and tuned intake manifold. And for being mechanically fuel injected with the Bosch CIS, I don't know what version of CIS it is off the top of my head, but of course you have the cold start valve, which is basically a carburetor choke, and a whole bunch of other stuff that, to be honest with you, I'm not terribly familiar with. The ignition system seems to be the old style Series 1 ignition system that came with the Bosch CIS injection. I'm not terribly sure. I do know that the turbo model that I had a very strange hybrid sort of computer-controlled ignition system, and it was very difficult to work with, especially when I got around to trying to mega squirt it. I had to completely scrap it because the computer did not like what I was doing with the mega squirt. But the rest of the ignition components is, of course, you've got your distributor, which is probably completely rusted out, and then of course you have your coil. Got all your plugs and things like that. All this stuff will need to be replaced. And it has a little air pump, it would seem, that is pumping air directly from the outside into the exhaust, I think, adding extra oxygen to the catalyst to help break down those nasty emissions. You'll notice that the battery box area has completely rusted out. This was actually cut out, and they were going to replace it but never got around to it. But this will obviously need some work, and it's unfortunate. I see a lot of rust. I'll need to take care of that. But yeah, that's the motor.